What's up, guys? It's Austin with Buzz Bloom's Flower Farm, coming at you to give you the dirt on zinnias. So let's talk dirty. Maybe that's not a thing. It's not catching on. All right, so zinnias. Everybody's heard of them, zinnias. This is a zinnia. If you don't know what a zinnia is, you are not really in the flower farm industry at this point. I don't know what to tell you, but you've come to the right place. I'm going to set you straight. Zinnias. Or some people call them, what do they call them? Zinnias. The list goes on. Everybody has a way of saying zinnias. I say it this way. We're not going to hate on the way I talk. I also say peonies, not peonies. Shh, that's another day. Okay, so zinnias. Zinnias suck. Ooh. Audible gasp. What did I just say? Yes, zinnias suck. So, zinnias don't really suck. But today I am challenging the narrative that if you're a beginning flower farmer, you should start with zinnias. No, wrong, incorrect. Just no, we're not gonna do that, okay? So, zinnias have so many pros, and that's why everybody's like, start with zinnias. Zinnias are super easy to grow, they start from seed readily, they produce so much, they're so prolific. They're a wonderful crop, truly a wonderful crop. They can be the backbone of CSA programs, of flower bouquets. They are an excellent flower farming crop. They're important to my flower farm. They're important to flower farms all across the nation. One of the biggest factors that makes zinnias so wonderful is they do not ship well. So they tend to get damaged and bruised in shipping. So that leaves us open in our local sphere to supply that and not have to compete with the import market. Zinnias are a wonderful crop. I've said it. There we go. But if you're a beginning flower farmer, I do not recommend you start with zinnias at all. And I have one big, monumental, ginormous reason for that. Supply and demand, okay? Business 101, supply and demand. All right, so zinnias, like, they weave this narrative of they're the crop. Like, they are one of the main crops that entry-level flower farmers should start with because they are so easy. They're a great way to dip your toe into flower farming. But we don't want to dip our toes into flower farming. We want to be on the verge of drowning and then recover. Or at least that's me. That's how I learn. I don't need to ease into anything. I'm just a full cannonball kind of guy. Boom. Let's go. Yeah. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't. That might be bad advice. But what's not bad advice is the supply and demand. It's important to look at that. Okay, so this might not be true of all areas, so it might be a wonderful crop for you to start with, but it's definitely true in my area, so please consider it. So zinnias. They have been touted as the #1 beginner crop for flower farmers, so I've got so many young flower farmers around me starting up, and it's wonderful. I love to see it. We need more flower farmers in our industry, but they're all growing zinnias. We've got a lot of market gardeners growing zinnias as well, so they specialize in growing produce, but they diversify their farm, which is brilliant, but they'll grow zinnias as well. So you go to a farmer's market, and it's just this sea of zinnias. And we're also in a pretty rural community, so again, everybody and their mama is growing zinnias. Grandmommy, she's got zinnias in her backyard, and then Granny's got zinnias over there, and then these flower farmers are trying to grow zinnias, and then next thing you know, you've spent all the money to buy seeds, to pay for amendments to the soil. You spent all this time harvesting them, watering them, nurturing them, and you're sitting at a farmer's market, or you're knocking on the florist's door, and nobody wants to buy your zinnias. And you're like, why? You just do not understand, because you're growing an amazing flower crop. They look beautiful, and you're like, why don't people want to grow this? To buy this? I'm so far into this don't grow it kick that I'm like, why don't people want to grow this? That's how the narrative should go. No, so you're like, start to get discouraged because you don't understand why people aren't buying it. And it's quite simple. Business 101, supply and demand. There's more supply than there is demand. And that is a pretty common theme that I am seeing with new farmers and market gardeners trying to grow zinnias. If you're wanting to grow zinnias because they're excellent for pollinators or they're a wonderful addition to your garden, by all means grow zinnias. But if you're trying to grow zinnias to build up a flower farm that is supposed to operate as a business, it can absolutely get there. And I'm not going to discourage you not to grow them. As a matter of fact, I've got another video that kind of goes over 5 of my top favorite zinnias that I grow here that do really well. But it might not be the best bet to serve as your foothold into business in this industry. So I would strongly encourage you to try and come up with something different in your area. So for me, an example is in my area, greenery is huge. Eucalyptus is actually one of my best crops here. And it's because all these entry-level flower farmers are intimidated by it. It does take some time to establish, so they do not grow it. They don't make the investment to grow it at the beginning. And then I now have a steady stream of eucalyptus coming from my farm, going out to florists with very minimal competition in my area. This is going to vary in every single location. And I can't tell you what crop is going to be the best crop for you, but what I can warn you is that zinnias and also sunflowers can tend to be a saturated area of the cut flower market. And that might not be true. That might be horrible advice. So definitely do your market research. Go to flower farms and see what they're growing. Go to farmers markets, see what they're selling. Talk to other mentors in your community. Ask what's doing well. Talk to florists. If florists are your demographic for sales, talk to them and be like, hey, what are y'all looking for? If I grow these zinnias, would you be interested in buying them? Talk to them about what color palettes they're interested in. But don't lead with, I'm going to grow a ton of zinnias and then I'm going to figure out how to sell them afterwards, because you're setting yourself up for failure if you do that. And that's true of everything. We want to lead with what the market is looking for before we plan and plant out our seeds. So that is my number one bit of advice as far as zinnias. I know a lot of people love to use them to gain some experience with growing, but here's the deal. If you can grow these harder crops right out of the gate, if you take the time, you've researched, you learn how to grow dahlias and lysianthus and Icelandic poppies, which are really easy once you get them started from seed. But if you take this time and try and grow some of the more challenging varieties, you're not going to struggle with zinnias. You're going to have no problems. So start with the most difficult tier, the most difficult level, and then it's all going to be smooth sailing from there. All right? So I really, really hoped you enjoyed this deep dive on why I don't encourage new beginning farmers to grow zinnias. You might disagree. If so, please let me know in the comments below if you have any questions about growing zinnias or any questions about what you should consider growing instead. Please feel free to leave that in the comments. And if you like this video, give it a like and give me a subscribe so that I can keep doing this and we can keep getting dirty together. Really, am I allowed to say stuff like that? I don't know. Anyways, zinnias suck. I mean, they don't suck, but they do kind of suck. Either way, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.